Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I'm honored to introduce the Security Council Area Formula meeting on the responsibility and responsiveness of states to cyber attacks on critical infrastructure, co-hosted by the United States and Albania, and co-sponsored by Ecuador and Estonia. It is a pleasure to co-chair this meeting on such an important matter with U.S. Representative to the UN, Ambassador Thomas Greenfield. Cybersecurity and international peace and security are interconnected due to the potential for cyber attacks to disrupt critical infrastructure, the involvement of state and non-state actors, the economic implications of cyber incidents, and the need for international cooperation to establish norms and mitigate cyber risks. Addressing cybersecurity challenges is crucial for maintaining stability, fostering trust among nations, and promoting peace in the digital age. Cybersecurity requires international cooperation and dialogue to address cyber threats, and this is exactly what today's meeting is all about. A step towards strengthening our joint efforts to promote responsible state behavior in cyberspace and embrace international cooperation to mitigate cyber risks. Collaboration in addressing cyber threats is essential to maintain peace and security in the digital realm. I pass the floor to my co-host, Ambassador Thomas Greenfield, for her opening remarks and introduce the briefers. Dear Linda, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Minister. As we have discussed in the Security Council before, and as you have affirmed today, addressing cyber threats is central to maintaining international peace and security in the 21st century. Of course, exactly how the Security Council complements the great work being conducted through GA processes is still up to us to shape. Today, we're meeting to focus on an aspect of that, how the Security Council can promote responsible state behavior and use information and communication technologies. Specifically, we need to hold states accountable for conducting or enabling cyber attacks on critical infrastructure. On this important and timely topic, we're very grateful to our briefers who will provide their analysis and expertise. I would like to welcome Mrs. Zumi Nakamitsu, Undersecretary General and High Representative, UN Office of Disarmament Affairs, Ms. Maricha Xhaçka, International Policy Director at Stanford Cyber Policy Center, and Ms. Molehi Makamani, cybersecurity researcher in the Security and Technology Program at the UN Institute for Disarmament Research.
The urgency of efforts to protect the peace and security of cyberspace, including to safeguard critical infrastructure from malicious activity, is only growing. Firstly, states must unequivocally acknowledge the particular vulnerability of infrastructure essential for public services and to functioning of society, and commit to protect it accordingly. Such infrastructure must be off limits to any malicious activity. Secondly, the principle of accountability is essential to tackling concerns of trust and, equally important, mistrust in cyberspace. The cyber threat landscape continues to evolve, and so must our collective responses. The United Nations remains your steadfast partner in this endeavor.
I would like to thank USG Nakamitsu, Ms. Marietje Xhaçka, and Ms. Molehi Makamani for their important insights and thoughtful suggestions. Despite the passing of time, despite the challenges and developments, the values and principles agreed upon in the UN Charter 78 years ago remain just as valid today. Upholding them in the ever-growing digital life is of utmost importance for the present and for the future. We live in an evolving world, one that is changing every day. Fast-developing technology and uninterrupted innovation are impacting every aspect of our lives, defining the future. but it is up to us to determine the path it takes so that the disruptive force of technology serves individual empowerment and strengthens knowledge, progress, and equality. In the course of the last decade, we have gradually built a growing digital society in Albania. Nowadays, more than 1,200 core government services are offered online. Our routine public administration is becoming increasingly paperless. These trends will only continue to grow, but this requires a free, open, stable, and secure cyberspace. While we enjoy the benefits, rapid technological progress also carries risks and challenges. As we have witnessed increasingly in the course of the last years, malicious actors, state and non-state actors, can use or better misuse cyberspace to wreak havoc. Imagine what would happen if during winter months a country's power grid was disrupted, if water distribution was stopped, if healthcare facilities were prevented from working, or if the transportation network is brought to chaos. Such acts can undermine the security, economic development, and stability of any country, and the humanitarian effects would be devastating. Colleagues, we are deeply concerned by an alarming increase in cyber attacks targeting states and their critical infrastructures. Only this year, more than 40 cyber attacks have affected 19 countries. We have experienced firsthand the destructive power of sophisticated attacks aimed at destroying critical infrastructure, the permanent wiping of critical data, the destruction of the entire system, leaving behind a scorched earth with a view to destabilize and create chaos and instability. It happened in Albania in July of last year, 2022. Critical services and the core of our democracy were put in danger. Months of thorough investigation have revealed unquestionable evidence that this cyber attack was orchestrated and sponsored by Iran through the engagement of several non-state actors who carried out this assault. It represents a flagrant violation of the norms of responsible state behavior in cyberspace, an attack against a sovereign country. The damage, fortunately, was contained, and the attempt failed to reach its aims, but it was a testimony of the brutality of the malicious cyber activity, especially through the combined involvement of state and non-state actors. Such acts constitute a threat to international peace and security and must be treated as such. I take this opportunity to thank our partners, the United States first and foremost, the European Union, Israel, and the UAE, who have and are working hand in hand with us to build resilience. Together we have succeeded in thwarting successive attacks, protecting our critical infrastructure and our people. Last month, the National Authority for Electronic Certification and Cybersecurity in Albania signed a Memorandum of Understanding with the Cybersecurity Council of the United Arab Emirates, boosting cooperation in the field of cybersecurity between the two countries. But Iran is not alone in this. It is common knowledge that Russia's actions have caused communications failures, including against critical infrastructure, not only in Ukraine but also in other parts of Europe, by deliberately attacking the Viasat satellite on February 24th of 2022, just 1 hour before the start of the unprovoked and unjustified war against Ukraine. Countries in the Western Balkans are systematically targeted by campaigns of interference and manipulation of information to trigger political instability and undermine their Euro-Atlantic aspirations. North Korea has become a notorious example of repeated malicious activities and cyber attacks to generate illegal revenue, which is used to finance its weapons of mass destruction and proliferation policies in violation of international law and resolutions of the Security Council. Colleagues, all member states are bound to respect the Charter, including respect for human rights and fundamental freedoms, and should promote a global, open, stable and secure cyberspace. We all have a role to play, and it starts by establishing and respecting commonly agreed rules. This is why Albania supports the establishment of the program of action initiated by France and Egypt to provide a framework for international cooperation and dialogue on cybersecurity, the development and implementation of existing norms and principles, and capacity building. We remain committed also to further advancing the framework already developed by the General Assembly for responsible state behavior in ICTs in the context of international security. I would like to also emphasize that the Security Council must, with a view to discharging its duties under the Charter, take a leading role in promoting norms of responsible state behavior and underscoring the applicability of international law to member states using ICTs. By identifying and condemning counter-normative or unlawful state conduct and encouraging positive actions to improve the security and stability of cyberspace, the Security Council can reduce the risk of conflict arising from malicious actions or omissions. Colleagues, we have learned throughout decades that we can achieve more when we come together through dialogue and cooperation to benefit from new opportunities for progress and deal with challenges on the way. Albania reiterates its position in favor of a global, open, free, stable, and secure cyberspace where international law, human rights, and fundamental freedoms are respected to the benefit of social, political, and economic development. For Albania, internet and technology are not and should not become a weapon. They must remain a force for good. I thank you, and I would now like to pass the floor to Ambassador Thomas Greenfield to deliver her remarks.
Thank you, Minister Xhaçka, for co-hosting this area with us, as well as Ecuador and Estonia for joining us as co-sponsors. And thank you to our briefers for informing and shaping today's conversation. And finally, thank you to all of you for being here this afternoon. We convene this meeting for a simple reason. The technology, internet, and digital services that we rely on are under invigorated and escalating attack. This includes news sites and government pages, internet services that monitor our air and water, control our electricity and transportation, and facilitate our day-to-day lives. More and more often, the threats we're facing online are not only coming from rogue actors, but also from states seeking to disrupt critical infrastructure. And in some cases, those very same states, and we know who they are putting forward bad faith side efforts to shape our laws and norms around cybersecurity. The United Nations in general, and the Security Council in particular, is charged with maintaining international peace and security. And as member states have repeatedly affirmed, malicious cyber activity to intentionally damage critical infrastructure, whether it's initiated or endorsed by a state, can instigate a conflict or exacerbate one. These attacks can be even used as weapons of war. We have to work together to stop them. For those who used to doubt the seriousness and global scale of the cybersecurity threat, the past few years have put any debate to rest. In the early stages of Russia's unprovoked and unjustified war against Ukraine, Russian state-affiliated actors launched offensive cyber operations aimed at destabilizing Ukraine by targeting its power grid and satellite communications. Russian and Russia-aligned cyber actors have continued to target Ukrainian public and private sector entities throughout the course of the invasion. Last year, as we just heard, we witnessed one of the most damaging peacetime cyber attacks in recent memory when the government of Iran conducted a cyber attack on Albania that destroyed government data and disrupted numerous public services. Meanwhile, the DPRK has launched indiscriminate cyber attacks that have impacted networks, including critical infrastructure networks, in more than 150 countries. The DPRK has also stolen more than $1 billion through cybercrime, threatening the economic stability of every member state, to fund its unlawful WMD and ballistic missile program. The United States has long been concerned by China's behavior in cyberspace as well, including its development of a cyber hacker enterprise where government-affiliated actors engage in ransomware attacks and other malicious activity. Non-state actors, particularly those engaging in ransomware activities, also pose an increasing threat to the public and private sectors. Given these myriad serious and dynamic threats, all of us are looking to the UN for both prevention and response. To that end, it is exciting to see 3 cybersecurity-related meetings this week convening simultaneously here at UN headquarters. These activities make it clear international cybersecurity is a priority for the international community. Given these multiple lines of efforts, our work in the Security Council must complement and build upon the existing work in other fora. The Security Council must take a leading role in raising awareness, condemning and holding actors accountable for malicious cyber activity for the purpose of preventing and deterring such behavior. And we need to be promoting a shared understanding of what rules and norms apply in cyberspace, and specifically the framework of responsible state behavior in cyberspace. Fortunately, the group of governmental experts developed such a framework, and the General Assembly has, by consensus, repeatedly affirmed it. The framework's top lines are straightforward. International law applies in cyberspace. States are expected to uphold voluntary norms of state behavior during peacetime, and states should understand practical cooperative measures to enhance their cybersecurity. We urge all countries to uphold the framework, and for the framework to be effective, we must uphold it together. That's what the program of action, which member states strongly supported last fall, is all about. The POA would provide a permanent body focused on implementing the framework and building states' cyber capacity. To that end, I would look forward to the Secretary General's report on member states' views on the POA this summer. We must urgently continue our conversation about the POA's establishment. In the meantime, individual states have a responsibility to cooperate and mitigate the effects of malicious cyber activity. That includes incident response support in the immediate aftermath of cyber attacks and mid to long-term cyber capacity building. States are also expected to address malicious cyber activity being carried out from their territories and affecting the interests of other states. And states can also use confidence-building measures to communicate and request assistance during significant cyber incidents. Colleagues, overall, given the escalating nature of international cybersecurity threats, many of us have demonstrated an extraordinary willingness to reach consensus on these issues. It is now time to turn that goodwill into good action. We look forward to working with all member states to realize our shared goal of an open, secure, and stable cyberspace that benefits us all.